Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. I'm back with another homeschooling video today, and I wanted to address a topic that is pretty common in the homeschooling community, and that is the idea of sending your children to regular school once they have reached the high school years. But I really wanted to tell you today why homeschooling high school is important. If you've been in the homeschooling community for any length of time, I'm sure that you have come across some people who have homeschooled their children maybe from kindergarten on up, or even maybe just for a few years in elementary school or middle school, but still reached the point where when they got to high school, they said, you know what, we're going to just kind of put our children into the district, and we're going to just pray that everything goes well because we are not equipped to do this. And really there are a few reasons. The most common reasons that I hear parents say this is that they think that the material will get too complicated once their children reach those high school years. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Another reason, a very common one, is socialization, which, go figure, in today's world that you would be worried about that and send your children to school for that. But anyway, and then the last one, at least the most common one, is the fear of missing out. They don't want their children to miss out on prom and homecoming and football games and sports and graduation day. But you know what? I'm going to tell you that all of these things are easily resolved. And on top of that, I have so many more reasons why it is so important for you to continue homeschooling your children through the high school years. In fact, I would say that the high school years are probably some of the most important times to homeschool your children. Now, first of all, when we talk about material getting too complicated, yes, depending on what your child is interested in, they might really want some of those higher maths. They might be, interested in physics and the more complicated sciences. And a lot of parents will look at that and say, whoa, I wasn't good at that in school, and I certainly am not equipped to teach my children that. And the first thing that you have to think of is, well, if you learned those things in school and you didn't understand it well then, why would your child understand it any better once they get into school? But that's another, topic entirely. But again, this is easily resolved because even if you do not want to be the one teaching your child these subjects, there are online classes. Online homeschooling classes abound. My children, in fact, use online classes just for math. They use ctcmath.com, and it's a video presentation, and then they will have a lesson after the video. And in fact, there are some math programs. I believe Mr. D's Math, he will also do live classes with the people who take his classes online. So that is another option as well. There are also co-ops that you can send your child to. Some of them are extremely academic. In fact, I was looking at one probably about 10 or 12 years ago. I was looking at a co-op for my oldest daughter, who is very intellectual, and I thought that she might be interested in it because it was so vigorous, and she decided to opt out. But you would be amazed at the options that there are when it comes to co-ops. You can also think about dual enrollment, which is having your child take college courses, sometimes online. Sometimes they might even be able to go onto the campus for these classes, and they can get credit for high school and they can get college credits. Kill two birds with one stone. And, there's always tutors as well. In fact, when we lived in the city, our public library had a math tutor who was there, I forget, certain days of the week, and it was free. You didn't even have to pay for this math tutor, but there are certainly tutoring programs that you can pay for tutors as well. But if you're resourceful and if you kind of ask around in the community and even ask at the library, you would be, it's amazing how many things there are that you don't even know are there for the taking. And I do have to add, though, that if you are brave enough, we'll say, to approach some of these topics that you might not be too comfortable with, a lot of the teacher's manuals for the curricula do give you very good instructions, and they explain things very well for you, the parent. I used to use Saxon with my oldest son when he was being homeschooled, and the teacher's manual. Now, a lot of teacher's manuals will just give you the answer key. Saxon, though, it actually showed you step by step how the problems were done. So if he had done something wrong, it wasn't just marked wrong and then I'm sitting there trying to figure out what it is that he did wrong. It actually shows you step by step, at least back when I was using it. I don't know how it still is. It showed you exactly how these math problems. He used it for algebra. I should add that it wasn't like second or third grade math. It was algebra 1 or 2. It showed everything. So that is another option as well. As for socialization, come on. You see what is going on in the public school setting. I think that school is probably the last place that I would want my children to socialize right now. And in fact, socialization is one of the reasons that I do homeschool, because bad company corrupts good morals. And I think that as parents, we need to remember that. Our children do not need to be in school in order to interact with other people. When they are with students, they are in a classroom all day, every day, with students the same age as them, with students who live in the same locale that they do, and they are pretty much, what is it called? A captive audience, okay? When you were in school, I'm sure that you all remember your teachers used to tell you, you're not here to socialize. So I don't know what socialization people think is happening while they're in school, unless you're thinking of maybe the 2 minutes between classes, or, people passing notes back and forth when they're not supposed to be. You, as a homeschooling parent, can take your child out into the community. They can meet not only people their own age, but they can interact with people from all ages, all walks of life, in their own environment. They will meet people in their homes, at the store, at the bank, at the playground, at the park, at extracurricular activities. You don't need school for socialization. Yes, sometimes it takes a bit of effort depending on where you live, but it is worth it. So the next one, when I was talking about fear of missing out of prom and sports and all of those things, first of all, I have to say that most states, it might be all, I'm not sure, but I do live in a highly regulated state, one of the most highly regulated in the country, in fact, and even my state allows homeschoolers to participate in sports, in extracurricular activities, and after school programs. They're allowed to go to the prom. They are allowed to go to homecoming. Now, I have to say, a lot of times, the school district may not be aware of homeschooling laws, because, in fact, my daughter wanted to go to homecoming 2 years ago, and her boyfriend was told that she couldn't because she was not considered to be in the district because she was being homeschooled, even though she was in the district, because we have to file paperwork for her to be homeschooled in the school district. So by law, she should have been allowed to go to homecoming, but it was too late by the time that everything happened, and she actually missed out on that because the officials didn't know what they were doing, basically. So in that case, you really have to keep up on them. I called HSLDA and I got the ball rolling for prom, and the school district did apologize for not allowing her to go to homecoming. But really, this is something that I'm pretty sure that every state does allow. And on top of that, a lot of homeschool groups will also have proms, and they will have homecoming, and they will have even their own graduations. We even belonged to a homeschool soccer team many years ago. So that is another option. But again, most states will allow your child to play sports. The question is, I wouldn't want my children to play for the school, just because if I'm trying to keep them away from the socialization that goes on in the schools, the same thing is going to happen if you allow them to go like in sports or band or whatever it is that your child wants to do in school. So my opinion is that I keep my children away from the school as much as possible, but your child is allowed to do those things. And honestly, if you think about it, is it really worth it? Is prom worth throwing your child to the wolves? Is even sports, even if your child loves baseball, for example, is their education worth, or I should say, are sports worth sacrificing your child's education and possibly their morals and the foundational skills that you have been instilling in them. Is it worth it for one night at the prom, which, most people don't really think much about in later life, or one night at homecoming, even graduation day? It's not something that people tend to think about later in life. It seems like a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, they're just not. They're not really that important. So I do have lots of other reasons that it is important to homeschool your children, to continue homeschooling them through high school. So we know that there is an agenda being pushed in schools. When you are homeschooling your children, you as the parent have the right to say what your child will and will not learn. It's so common nowadays to hear school districts and teachers saying, parents have no right to tell us what we're teaching in schools. When you are homeschooling your child, you have every right. And while a lot of these reasons that I'm giving you really do go for all the years of school, high school is a crucial time, because high school is when they are really starting to push these agendas, because they know that they only have a few years left. They know that children are older, they can handle more things, and they will try everything that they can to get their point across. Another reason that you should continue to homeschool for high school is that your child can participate in self-directed learning. They can learn about whatever they are interested in. They can learn about the topics that they will need for whatever it is that they want to do after high school, if they know at that point, because not all kids do. And that's another thing. It's okay if by high school they don't know what career they want. How many kids go to college and end up switching majors mid-year? So that's not even a big deal. But self-directed learning allows them to learn about what they want to learn about in the way that they want to learn it. And when they are learning things that they're interested in and that they actually have a need for, they're going to retain that much better than if you're just cramming facts down their heads or down their throats that they probably will never need in life unless they're playing Trivial Pursuit, which I happen to be very good at. I do enjoy that. So anyway, and another reason, which is related to self-directed learning, is interest-led learning. Now, again, this can be throughout most years, but children who are, I should say teenagers, who have reached the high school years, many of them have matured to the point that they can, work independently, and they can be trusted. Most of them, I understand that it's not always possible, but they can be trusted to do their own work, to kind of make up their own routine. And interest-led learning is very similar to self-directed learning. The way that it differs is that interest-led learning can also be more parent-directed than self-directed learning. So self-directed learning, yes, is about a child following their interests and learning about the things that they want to learn about. Interest-led learning, a child will have a say in what they are learning about, and sometimes, yes, they will still do everything on their own, in which case I would consider it self-directed. But with interest-led learning, the parents will very often say, okay, if you want to learn about this, here's a curriculum that we're going to do. Here's a unit study that we're going to do. And so there is more parental involvement in interest-led learning, but there are still benefits to it, because your teenager will be learning skills that actually have a meaning for them. They actually have a reason to learn the things that they are learning about, whether it is just because it's a passing interest or a hobby or a passion of theirs, or because it actually has something to do with what they would like their career to be. It's not something that is trivial, as I mentioned before, and kind of meaningless when you think about it. There are a lot of really unnecessary subjects that are taught not only at the high school level, but even at the college level. We talk about all of those required courses that they make you take in college. For a lot of people, it's just a waste of money. They're not going to have much of an impact on them. But the same thing happens in high school. So a lot of time is wasted on things that they really don't need to be learning. They could be learning so much more and so many more meaningful things if you kind of just get rid of all of the fluff that they're teaching them in high school these days. So another reason, and again, linked to those, is that you as the parent can tailor their curriculum for a specific career. If your child definitely knows what it is that they want to be doing, you as the parent can choose specific things for them to learn. You can look up what it is that they're going to need in college, and you can have your child learn everything that they need to know in order to prepare them for that by tailoring that curriculum. And you don't need to worry about them taking certain courses just because the school says that they have to. Another reason, which I know a lot of people will probably scoff at, is that homeschooling high school allows you as the parent to teach future homemakers how to manage a home. I think that homemaking is one of the noblest things that a woman can do, probably the noblest thing that a woman can do. And I think that we should encourage our daughters if they want to do that. In society, we're just always, all we hear is girl power and girls can do anything that boys can do. And they're trying to push all of these like STEM careers for girls, but you don't ever hear them encouraging girls to be wives, to be mothers, to stay at home. Yet that is one of the most crucial jobs that a woman can do. So if you are homeschooling, you can show your daughter who does want that how to manage a home, how to cook, how to clean, how to sew, how to budget when shopping. There are so many things that they can learn. And basically your daughter can not tail you. I can't remember the specific term that I wanted, but you can be the model for your daughter, and she can kind of follow along behind you, and she can do whatever it is that you're doing because she sees what it is that has to get done every day. And very similarly, the same thing can happen with boys. Boys who are home for high school, they can be taught money management because that's really not something that's taught in school. They can learn how to take care of the car. They can learn how to do home repairs. There are so many things that men can also do, and you can also show the girls these same things too, that again are not taught in school, at least not to every student. So these are all things that, everyday life things, those life skills that are going to make life so much easier for you once you're an adult. They're kind of left out of the school, and you can kind of bring that back in if you are homeschooling. Another thing is that you can match the curriculum to your high schoolers' learning style. Even once they reach a certain age, they still have a certain way that they learn best. And yes, if you are planning on having your child go to college, you can certainly, make sure that they are doing some things in the way they're going to do them in college, because we know that college is pretty much textbook driven like traditional school is. We also know, though, that that is not the most effective way for most students to learn. It just isn't. So you can still work that in, but you can also bring in other activities to help your teenager to retain the information that they're learning better than if they're just learning in a way that really just isn't helping things to sink in for them. Another reason is that many colleges, including Harvard, they are actively seeking homeschoolers. So many people. It's an old wives' tale, I guess you could call it. It's a myth. It's a homeschool myth that homeschoolers can't go to college. Yes, they can. And colleges actively seek them out. They actively recruit homeschoolers. And in fact, there was an article in, I think, Business Insider a few years ago that said that Harvard actively recruits homeschoolers because homeschoolers know how to learn. And I think that really stands out. I have to say that I'm not pushing my children to attend college because I don't see much usefulness in most careers. Obviously, there are some careers that college is an absolute must. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people kind of see college as this blanket thing, and they think that everyone should go no matter what it is that they want to do. And that's just not the case. If your child doesn't need college for what it is that they want to do in life, why rack up all that debt and also those additional years of indoctrination? I don't see any reason for it. Also, if you're homeschooling for high school, your child will have more time for apprenticeships and for internships and to actively have gainful employment beyond just a few hours a night at a part-time job. Because if your child is home, they have more flexible hours. They can get more work experience in. And these are the things that are going to help them in their adulthood, not knowing how to factor polynomials. And also, I just wanted to tell you that high school is the perfect time, homeschooling high school is the perfect time to perfect your child's gifts, and they could even start their own businesses. I have to say that I have my oldest daughter several years ago. Homeschooling, first of all, I have to say that homeschooling allowed her to, she's a talented artist, and she was drawing all the time. Took lessons at an art school for a couple years, but she didn't like being told what to draw. She liked to have her own inspiration, and that's how she works best. So she was constantly drawing. And now, just a few years later, she does art commissions. She's very good at it. Now, my other daughter, she actually, I think she was 19. She was 18 or 19 and was offered a position at the job that she's still at now. So I think she was 18 because I think she's been there 3 years. She was offered a position at a job that they told her that they only normally will offer to college graduates. Yet she did it almost right after high school graduation, just like a few months later. And she's still there today because she had the skills that she needed in order to be able to get that done. I also wanted to share with you what my friend Donita from Prairie Dust blog and channel shared with me, because she is an inspiration. She actually has a homestead, and her homeschool graduate children and her daughter, who is still being homeschooled, they're amazing, and they have made such fantastic successes out of their lives. So I just wanted to share with you, before I go, a comment that she shared with me. She said, "Our oldest graduated, ready to publish her first novel, and then went into an internship tutoring and teaching character in the public schools. Our second graduated with a 5-figure income raising golden retrievers and showing them at international dog shows, her dream come true. Our third went straight into an internship job that he loved. Our fourth immediately started her homestead business, selling rabbits and goats and consulting new homesteaders. Our fifth is an electrician apprentice and started his own YouTube channel. Our sixth is a master artist selling commissions before graduation." So as you can see, what really sums up a lot of people sending their children to high school, like I should say a traditional high school rather than homeschooling them, is fear. Fear of the unknown. But there are so many more reasons that you should continue to homeschool your child throughout high school. And I hope that I helped you to at least think about that today. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one either here or over on Instagram. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.